Less than 1% of people watch the NBA live. Less than 1% of basketball is played with an audience. LeBron and company are not for the 99%. So let me expand on this thought. Let me kind of give some background as to why this came to be. As some of you may know, we are currently going through a pandemic, the time I'm recording this, which is Monday, April 20th of 2020. Hey, 2020. 2020. Yeah. Anyway, so that happened. That is happening. That will still happen. Some things ended. One of the first things to end that was continual was the National Basketball Association. That's professional basketball league in the United States of America. For some of you who don't know, most of you listening to this will probably know what this is. The top player right now is LeBron James. He's been playing for 20 years. No, 17 years. I think it's the 17th season. 20 years, I was thinking Kobe Bryant and the late Kobe Bryant. That was a massive thing, Kobe passing, and that was still when the season was going on. This was supposed to be a grand season for many reasons, with the passing of Kobe being Bryant and a few other things, which that news has kind of been taken away. I mean, for good reason. This pandemic is a lot bigger than someone like Kobe Bryant, even though Kobe Bryant was a lot bigger than I actually thought once he passed and I started hearing about all the things that he'd been doing and things like that, how much he meant to people. So some of these figures are very public. LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world right now and has been for some time. He's been playing since he was a kid. I remember watching his high school games, with some of the earliest games being put on like ESPN. Like, he was massive. He's around my age. And I remember him from Billy back when I was young, thinking, wow, LeBron's making it like this. And he's been in the public eye since that time. So when the National Basketball Association closed, and it closed in an odd way, it was like Rudy Gobert, who was a French player. Rudy Gobert. Gobert is like sorbet. Anyway, I think it's Gorbet. Anyway, not important. He plays for the Utah Jazz. And he had this thing where he was the first person in the National Basketball Association that was tested positive with the coronavirus. And once that happened, once that news came out, the NBA shut down immediately. On that night when he tested positive, they were about to play, and they're like, nope, we got to shut this down. We're shutting it down. We're not having the games. And then subsequently, after I think a week or two, or even a few days, Commissioner Adam Silver said it's shut down. Then Donovan Mitchell, who was another player, he's an American player. I think he's American, could be Canadian, but I think he's American. And he's a player, and he got tested positive. Then it turned out a lot more people started getting positive, started expanding. And they're like, yeah, okay, we're shuttering this. They weren't sure. They were keeping players at the locations, in their home locations, because some of these players, like as I said with Rudy Gobert, he's French, but I think he's moved to the United States of America. But even within the United States of America, there's people who live in certain states or play in another one. So they commute for during the season and live there, have a secondary house or get an apartment or rent something like that. And then their families are away from them. Their families normally stay home. But during that initial time, they were staying in the location in case they were going to restart this. We still had very little information. We still don't have full information on what's going on with this situation. But back then, it was still very, very early in this process. So there were people being interviewed. And LeBron James, of course, as the face of the league, one of the faces of the league, one of the leading players, I said the leading player, he's asked about these things. And I've done a separate video about this, talking about his opinion coming up on the China situation. Now, I got a few other videos about LeBron. I say, be the LeBron about your life, because LeBron has put in so much effort in being who he is, being how good he is, and being the top. You can find something in your life that is rather niche and specific. It could be something not as general as playing basketball, just specific to you, that you could be the best at because it's you doing it. So that's a good thing. And I see that with LeBron. But some of the things he says, a little telling. But this could be due to his life. You got to empathize and see where he's coming from. He's been in the public eye since that time. So he came out and he said, I'm not going to play without fans. If there's no fans in the stands, that's who I'm performing for. That's who I'm playing for. But when you think of it, is that really accurate? Some of these people look at these people and say, wow, these people are being paid millions to do something I would do anyway. They often say, I would do this regardless. If there was no one in the world, I would do this. But for some of these people, it's so tied into actually performing for other people. Even though when LeBron James plays again in front of tens of thousands, because the basketball stadiums are not really that massive. It's not talking about football-sized stadiums where you're talking 100,000 and some people even in college levels and things like that. But you go, I think it's On average, it's around 30,000 for the NBA actually arenas, 30,000 or less. That's still a lot of people yelling. That's still a lot of energy feeling for that. But he was saying, I'm not going to do this. But even when you have a situation like that, I think specifically, even with the National Basketball Association, some of the actual viewer numbers have dropped because people are going and watching them on streaming services, watching them on their phones, watching them on computers, watching them later, watching mashups of it, watching them on NBA's own actual streaming like abilities and things like that. So majority of the people who watch him do what he's doing watch it over television, over streaming, over other devices. They don't watch it live. Very few people actually get to go watch live. So why would he make this stance and say, I have to play in front of a crowd? I have to perform in front of a crowd? When they say, oh, like just shut up and play, shut up and ball, shut up and play basketball, they say, oh, I'm more than an athlete. Then be more than a performer. You're not just a performer in that sense. You're more to a lot of people. So it's coming back to the time where America is reopening. They've started talking about different things. There have been discussions of moving the National Basketball Association and different leagues to one location, be it like Las Vegas, and all the players kind of live there. They've already tested this out with the WWE, which is World Wrestling Entertainment, which is a professional wrestling. And that's a thing where they've gone to the Florida practice center that they have, the Florida WWE Academy, and the athletes are actually there. They even put up a whole WrestleMania. I tried watching some of it. It was super cringe. Try watching it and just see it's like some avant-garde opera type of thing. It's really odd, contemporary avant-garde and some kind of weird mix. It's an odd situation without the crowd. And I think Rob Gronkowski was on it. He used to play football for the New England Patriots. He was a tight end, and he actually mentioned, he was like, I'm here with no crowd. And so there's just ways to play it. So there's ways to see it. But seeing it without that was an odd situation. I've seen Saturday Night Live. I've seen certain TV shows, certain things done without the actual crowd, without the people laughing. And it's a weird situation. So with basketball, though, I think it can be okay. I think with sports, it'll be okay. It can still work. Most people play it without people watching. They just go to the playground, they go by themselves, and they play ball, and they still get excited. The competitive aspect of it, I think, will still be there. The competition is still there. They're still playing for these things. In many cases, you're still getting paid that money. You're not really being paid too much from the gate. Much of your salary is coming from people watching it on television, watching it in their homes, watching it on the computers. So that's kind of one thing. And LeBron's supposed to speak for the people, and I think he backtracked on this declaration and came back and was like, yeah, okay, like I'll play. Like what I was saying, I wasn't really understanding. I don't really get, again, as much of some of the people who are saying, oh, we need to bring sports back. It's needed a lot. Even that's Donald Trump has said that. And this might mean more to other people than it does to me, where they feel they need sports in a sense. I just recorded a separate video. I was talking about how there's some kind of placebo effect watching the celebrities, similar to the placebo effect on people get from going to church and praying. There could be something that goes on with just the regular patterns and habits that people have that makes them feel more whole, that they get something out of it. I don't know. What do you think about this? Do you think it's going to be odd for people to play without the actual people in the fans in the stands? Do you have some kind of activity, some kind of pastime where you are not being able to do it right now? Or are you doing a thing where it's kind of hampered, done in a different way? When you actually go back to doing what you were doing, is that going to be limited by not having other people around? How much central is other people's involvement in your day-to-day life, in your experiences? How much is going to work, whether it's they're watching you directly do the work or just the people you actually deal with at work? Let's say you might be a bus driver. How much of your day is actually more excited by actually seeing the people on the bus, having conversations with the people who use their regular, who have their same tracks where you meet them and you engage in conversations? How would it be if you just had to drive that bus without anyone there? Would you still just be okay with it? Because that is the thing with him. I think he's gotten to that situation where I think you can empathize and think for some of these people, crowds have been much more directly involved in their day-to-days than some other people. For me, I've been a work from home, work remotely person, independent in that sense for some time. So it doesn't really affect me as much as I imagine it can affect other people. So where do you stand on this? Like, share, and subscribe. Links below to the merchandise store. You can help me out with one-time donations on PayPal. I know things are tight, but one thing that I think you guys can afford to do that I'd appreciate the most is a like if you did like it, a dislike if you didn't, and a comment below to let me know what you think. This increases conversation during this time of social isolation. We don't have to mentally isolate. Goodbye.